What's up, man? Welcome back to another episode of Rob Sports Center. As you can see by the title, man, yes, we're going to get straight into this. I ain't going to bore y'all with no ridiculous intro. So, Shadeur Sanders to the Steelers, question mark. Now, when I seen that, a part of me was like, because as a Saints fan, I wouldn't mind us taking him. But then I got to thinking, man, you know what? That actually would be a pretty good doggone fit for him, whether it was New Orleans or even possibly Pittsburgh, right? You remember I told you guys, I made a video about this prior to this video talking about why not being a top 5 pick isn't a bad thing, is because you're going to a team that was horrible. For you to get a top pick, because no team is crazy enough for the most part to trade a top 5 pick away. They're not crazy at all to do that, right? So for you to get that, it was intentional, and you have to be horrible, not just as a team, but as a franchise. When you lose 4 games or 3 games or sometimes even less than that over the course of a 17 game season, there's much more to that than just bad quarterback play, bad defense. It's a lot of things. Front office, money management. It's a lot of things that goes into that. But when you find yourself dropping down to the lower picks, now you go to teams that actually are together, and some teams might just be missing a quarterback. Yeah, like I say, you look back at the year the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won a Super Bowl. All they were missing really was a quarterback. You put Brady on there with a couple more additions, you get a Super Bowl. Not saying that Shedeur is Brady, but I'm just kind of giving you guys an analogy of what I was trying to get across. So I put together me a little list why I think that Pittsburgh would be a good landing spot for Shedeur. So I'm going to go ahead and hop into that. So the Steelers finished the 2024 season with a 10-7 record. They actually finished second in their division, and they have a pretty tough division with them, Cincinnati, Baltimore, and Cleveland. You know, I would say Cleveland probably is the only less competitive team in that division, but everybody else, for the most part, be competing, and they finished second in that one. So that shows you that they're not missing a lot. It's a few. They already have pieces there to that puzzle. It's a few more they need to add that possibly can help them get to the next level. So for that reason right there, I think that's a good situation for them. The Steelers finished 12th in total defense in 2024 with an average of 326.7 yards per game allowed. They allowed an average of 4.1 yards per carry and 4,151 yards passing. And the reason why I brought up defensive statistics, because the two best friends of a quarterback, I know they say the best friend of a quarterback is a good run game, but I also think a good defense. Reason being, if you have a good defense, it takes away some of the pressure from your quarterback, because he doesn't feel he has to go out there and try to win the game and try to make plays and end up forcing things, trying to make a play, but make a bad play that can lead to us losing the game. But having a good run game keeps them evenly balanced, and it even keeps the defense evenly balanced, so they can't really just key in on trying to disrupt him, because you have to take in consideration a run game, but then the defense too, because they can hold other teams from scoring, so it doesn't put that much pressure on my quarterback and offense to feel like, hey, we have to go out there and make something happen. Now, I know some people might say, well, he did it in Colorado with a not as good defense and a pretty suspect offensive line. Yeah, you're right. But at the same time, this is the National Football League, NFL, best of the best. These are big boys. These are grown men. So the things that you got away with in college probably not going to transition to the NFL. Let's just be honest. The Pittsburgh Steelers have been sacked a total of 56 times during the 2024 season. Reason why I put that statistic up there is because I want to see, how do they protect their quarterbacks? You know what I mean? I want to see, are they giving their quarterbacks enough time to find guys open down the field? You know, obviously we know Shedeur played with a horrible offensive line at Colorado, right? So if he took punishment to that degree in college, just imagine how it would be on the next level in NFL. Now, I know a lot of people say a knock about him is that he holds onto the ball too long, but make me understand this. If my offensive line is abysmal, right, horrible, that tells you I don't have enough time in the pocket, for one. And if my receivers can't consistently separate from defenses or from defenders before I have time, before the pocket collapse, what else do I have to do? What you want me to do? Just lob the ball up there and just pray for the best? Say, forget it, he down there somewhere, and throw an interception, or get an intentional grounding and lose a down. I get sacked on first down, I still got second down. I get sacked on second down, I still got third. I get sacked on third, I can punt the ball off, regain that yards that we lost. And if I got a good defense, they go out there and hold up. Now I'm able to come back out with opportunity to put points on the board. So I think that taking sacks isn't necessarily always a bad thing. But at the same time, you do want to protect your quarterback, because you don't want your quarterback getting hurt. The Steelers have not had a losing season since 2003. They have tied the NFL record of 21 consecutive non-losing seasons, and that has been with QBs like Mitchell Trubisky, Russell Wilson, who isn't garbage, Justin Field, who isn't garbage to me. I think it was probably just situations for him, Kenny Pickens, Mason Rudolph. Obviously, we know the most notorious one is Big Ben, a future Hall of Famer, but he didn't always have that. Even when he lost Big Ben, he still found a way to win. You know, how many other coaches could we say that when they lost their top player, whether it was a quarterback or anything, and did they still have that same level of productivity? 21 consecutive seasons. So shows that it is something going on at Pittsburgh, and it's something going on right? Even going to a team like that, it helps align with Shadeur Sanders' belief system. Shedeur said, if you're not a team that's interested in winning and turning around a franchise, then don't draft me, right? So he wants to go to a team that he can say, okay, we're going to sit down at this round table and we're going to say, what do we need to do to take it to the next level? What can I do? What aspects of my game can I improve on to help us better get to that point? And we see that with Mike Tomlin, you have that. You know, Mike Tomlin's a phenomenal coach, regardless of what you think about it. 21 consecutive seasons shows you that. And let's keep in mind, in the midst of those 21 consecutive non-losing seasons came a Super Bowl and came another Super Bowl appearance. And think about who he was playing against at that time. Tom Brady and the Patriots. Peyton Manning and the Colts, Baltimore Ravens, and that phenomenal defense that they had, who was in their division. So it was dogs over there, man. So for him to compete in that era with what he was going up against, I'm talking about Mike Tomlin, shows you that he's a darn good coach and he will be good for the development of Shedeur. Like I said, too, look at Patrick Mahomes going to the Chiefs. You don't think that going to the Chiefs and having Andy Reid as a developer or helping Mahomes take his game to the next level, you don't think that was a very big benefit? So I always say situations, right? Sometimes it's deeper than what a lot of people want to pay attention to. Sometimes you have to go to a team that has a good offensive coordinator because he can find ways to structure an offense based off of what you do well and then still try to focus on what you do wrong. And then even having a good quarterbacks coach, that way when we in these one-on-one meetings as a quarterback helps develop him and take him to the next level, whether it's him recognizing defenses, being able to pre-snap read defenses and make adjustments based off like all the greats we've seen do, Manning, Brady, Breeze, and even now with Mahomes and guys like that. So those are things that can help take him to the next level. So going to a good team that has a good coaching system in play will make sure that is what can help him out. So a quarterback's best friend, like I said earlier on, is a run game. And the Steelers were the 27th team out of 32 in rushing yards. That's not necessarily the best. They were 12th in yards per game, averaging 121.9 yards per game. They had a rushing success rate of 47.6%, which was in the bottom third of the league, which isn't horrible, but it also ain't good, you know. And I think a lot of the success running the ball actually came from Russell Wilson being a mobile quarterback and Justin Fields. Obviously, Shedeur isn't deemed as a dual threat just because he doesn't have next level athleticism. But then, like I always say, how many quarterbacks does? Like off the top of my head, who you think about? Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Kyler Murray, those type of guys, right? But you got guys like Joe Burrow, who's not next level athleticism, but when needed to, he can get out the pocket. The same thing with Patrick Mahomes and the same thing with Aaron Rodgers throughout the course of his career, man. I mean, you've seen that with a lot of quarterbacks. C.J. Stroud is another one who's not, off the chart athletic, but when needed to, if they need to extend a play or if they even need to just make a run in a gotta-have-it situation, they can do it. They've had a pretty active offseason so far. Obviously, it's only April, so we still got time before the season comes along. So there's still things that can be made in the process. Obviously, the draft is coming up. And one of the things that I was kind of saying, too, I just don't know if Shedeur would still be on the board for Pittsburgh to have an opportunity at him, unless they was able to trade up and get it. But that's kind of I wouldn't say it's a reach because it's possible, but I wouldn't really bank a lot on it. But let's go to acquisitions offseason. So the most exciting one for me was DK Metcalf. And when I watched Pittsburgh this year, I seen an offense who was very stagnant at times, right? I seen an offense who struggled to move the ball at times, especially when it was much needed. But when you think about it, who was their number one option, right? Receiver-wise, George Pickens, right? So when you think about it, if we know that George Pickens is Pittsburgh's number one receiver, in those gotta-have-it situations, those gotta-have-it moments, who do you think that football going to? George Pickens, right? So if we know that, most teams in those gotta have it moments, they're gonna take away that option, whether, via double team or whatever. And now you need a person that can step up and make a play, because now the matchup is more favorable over here because they're putting extra efforts to take this guy to play out of the play. And I don't think consistently they had that. Now we're bringing a presence like DK Metcalf, who's physical, who's fast, who can, pretty much run every route in the run tree. Now you're taking a big risk with saying, okay, I'm a double team Pickens, right? Because now you're leaving DK to work. Now, if you say, okay, I'm a double team DK, now you're leaving Pickens to work. Now, if you say, okay, I'm going to try to bracket both of them, now you're leaving yourself subject to opportunities in the running game. So having a guy like DK kind of evenly balances out that offense, which overall would help Shedeur as well. Now, I said to I was telling people, in my opinion, with Russ, I would have signed back with Pittsburgh considering all that I've just named. And then he got his number one target from a few years ago when he was at Seattle. So it just made sense. Now, I'm not quite sure if they had a fallout when he was there. That probably led to Russ just being like, nah. But I think Russ' decision with Pittsburgh, going to New York, probably was money-based because Russell Wilson is an aging quarterback whose best years are behind him, right? So he doesn't have that much time left in the NFL playing to the standard that we've been used and accustomed to him playing over all those years. So if he was serious about winning now, then a team like Pittsburgh would have been best for that. Going to a team like New York, who's a struggling franchise as of right now, to me, I just don't see that situation as idealistic. But I did like that pickup from Pittsburgh. They also signed a linebacker, Malik Harrison. They signed a safety, Juwan Thornhill. They signed a wide receiver, Ben Skowronek. They signed a cornerback, Darius Slay, running back Kenneth Gainwell, and seasoned quarterback Mason Randolph, who could offer some advice to Shedeur on how to approach the NFL and how to be a professional with the game. And I've seen they made some acquisitions defensively with the linebacker, safety, and the corner, and those could be areas that they lack. Like I said, giving up all those yards this past season, you probably would like to have a cornerback who can hold their own out there, who can probably try to cut away from a lot of those opportunities, which Darius Slay being coming off a phenomenal season, coming off of a Super Bowl championship. I think that, and bringing that veteran presence to a defense and being able to help the younger cornerbacks as a whole, I think can be very beneficial to the Pittsburgh Steelers defense moving forward. And even just to the locker room, too, having that veteran presence. I know they were saying that Darius Slay was arguing with Michael Parsons about Shadeur Sanders, and I got to go kind of look at that a little bit more to see what they was talking about. But he was going to bat for him, and I'm saying that's what a good seasoned vet does. Is uplift opposed to tear down and let them know that, okay, things are going to be all right. It might be a little shaky right now, but we're going to get it together. I've been on such and such teams where we start off like this and we ended on a much better note. So having that veteran presence brings that. So, like I say, I highly doubt that Shedeur is on the board whenever Pittsburgh has a chance to pick, because if he's still there come pick 9, I pray that New Orleans Saints gets him. But if not, I wouldn't mind seeing him going to Pittsburgh, because I think that could be beneficial to his career, opposed to going to a team that's top 5 and go to a situation where it's just not in your best interest as a whole. You know what I mean? So, but that is it for this video, man. If you're a Pittsburgh fan, man, let me know what you think about that. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? And if you're a Shadeur Sanders fan, let me know what you think about it. Do you agree with it or disagree with it? But if you did enjoy this video, do me a big favor, man. Smash that thumbs up button. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. And when you subscribe, make sure that notification bell is on. That way you be notified every time I upload, man, which I'm trying to get more consistent. I'm trying to get back-to-back, day-to-day. So stay tuned, and I'll see y'all in the next video.